All right, I guess I'll kick this off. This is the next installment of our regular Green Tech Renewables webinars. The topic today is NEM 3.0, making the financial case by combining home electrification with energy storage. Of course, brought to us by Kate Collins, who Kate will introduce herself in just a second here. First of all, I'm Stuart Fox, and I'm just going to start the webinar, but as usual, we'll have data sheets and additional resources, of course, in the handouts tab. Feel free to answer questions anytime. I think we're also going to have a poll as we go. And then, of course, we'll go through those questions at the end, do our best to answer, and of course, follow up if anything we can't. Also, as usual, we'll be recording this, and there will be a recording of today's webinar available to enjoy at a later time. So my team at Green Tech is the design services team. It's a nationwide network of designers and engineers. There's about 40 of us full-time on Green Tech staff. We can pretty much do any kind of project anywhere in the country, or of course the outlying colonies. Basically, it's a service. The design services is a service to Green Tech customers, Green Tech contractors and customers who have an account with Green Tech. You can actually buy engineering services through your PC and local salespeople. Again, there's almost no project that we won't get involved in. Carports, batteries, any kind of preliminary design, as-built, pretty much any kind of structural or engineering you need, we can provide it. And one thing I wanted to add because of the topic, since we're talking about NEM 3.0 now, and especially storage as it is evolving in California, we recently had Kendall Schmidt join our team. He is a industry veteran specializing in energy storage, and he is also available to consult as part of our extended group, and hopefully he'll be joining us in the near future on some of these energy storage webinars. And of course, Green Tech Renewables, everybody is fairly familiar, but it's we're a gigantic network within the U.S. Providing everything you could possibly need for your solar project, but geared towards local support. So even though there's, I think, 100 locations at this point around the country, every one of them is designed exclusively for the local region that they support. And as always, our core values are service, integrity, and reliability. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Kate. Looking forward to this. This is a really good one.
Great. Thanks, Stuart. Hi, so my name is Kate Collins, and I am with Schneider Electric. I'm the director of channel sales, actually, for Schneider's energy storage business and inverter business in North America. And I've been with Schneider for 2 years now. Although I've only been with the company for a short while, I've been in the industry for 20 years as of August. So been doing this a long time. And I just want to say, to start this out, I'm not a NEM expert. I understand it, but I'm not a NEM expert. I'm an energy storage expert. And so we're going to be talking about energy storage. We're going to be talking about home electrification and load management. Okay. And, as I said, I'm not a NEM expert, but I know the history. I've been doing this since solar was $5 a watt for PV panels themselves, and energy storage costs were still manageable. And so I want to talk a little bit about the history of NEM. And, a lot of people don't even realize that NEM actually was pioneered in the early 80s in Arizona and Idaho. So it wasn't actually brought to California until 1996. And the reason the state decided to put forth NEM 1 The legislation was really designed to stimulate economic growth after the recession of the early 90s. And so that was really a driving factor. They also wanted to diversify the energy resource mix. They wanted more renewables in the energy portfolio in California. And then, of course, they were really looking to encourage more investment into renewables here in California. So that was the original purpose of NEM 1.0. Now, for those of you who've been in the industry for a long time, we've seen a lot of changes. I mean, the next 20 years after 1996 saw a lot of different updates and changes to NEM. And we also saw an incredible decrease in system cost, which has really driven the exponential growth of the industry. And it wasn't until 2016, when NEM 2.0 was rolled out, that we really saw a substantial change that sort of shook the industry. And we were all waiting for the bottom to fall out of solar, but it didn't. And the reason I'm giving you this short little history lesson is because we've been through this solar coaster route before. Okay, 2016, we saw that through, we got to the other side of it. Now we're in 2023 and NEM 3.0 has rolled out. And again, everybody's expecting, major changes, and many people had expected the bottom to fall out of the market. It's not. It's simply changing. And so, really what today is about thinking outside the box. How do we make the current situation we have, which is NEM 3.0, how do we make that financially feasible for the end customers, for your clients? And how do we move forward in this new climate? So NEM 3.0, NEM 3.0. So things you need to know about it. You probably already know this. You probably know more about NEM 3.0 than I do. But I just want to remind you, it's one of the most important things is that when your customers are going solar, if they go solar only, they're going to earn 75% less for the excess electricity they push into the grid over the course of the next 20 years. Okay, so it's really a big hit, and this is why people have been so panicked. Well, the payback period for the solar plus storage is going to be much faster than the solar only install, which is why you're all sitting here in this course right now. And of course, if you have under NEM 3.0, if you're doing the solar plus storage systems, you're not going to lose as much of your savings as the solar only systems do. Okay, and we're going to look at some of these figures and how this all pencils out before we start talking about load management, because we have to talk to this. This is the starting point. So what does the payback period look like, and what is the 20-year savings? And looking at them both, what you're going to see is, okay, if we compare NEM 2 versus NEM 3 for solar only installation, obviously it was much better in NEM 2. Okay, NEM 3 not near as good. Okay, now as soon as you add storage, it evens out. And in fact, in Southern California, I thought this is very interesting. Really, the average time to recover solar, as long as you have storage included, hasn't really changed NEM 2 to NEM 3, and it hasn't changed that much, even in the PG&E territory. Okay, so I was talking to an installer recently, and they said, well, if we put storage in, it's not that big of a change. And really, if I look at what the change is 7 years versus, this was somebody in Southern California, they were saying it was 6 years before to recover the solar investment without storage. And now it's only 7 years with storage, so it doesn't really make sense. Why do I need to sell my customer storage? However, where you really need to look at is this 20-year savings, because when you look at the 20-year savings, this is where the big difference happens. So whether we're looking at Southern California or any of them, but I'm using San Diego right now as a focal point. So in NEM 2, your savings over 20 years was $58,000. The end customer's savings was $58,000. In NEM 3, it's only a $25,000 savings. So yes, the payback is not that much longer, 10 years versus 6. However, the overall savings over a 20-year period is an extreme difference. Whereas if you add storage, all of a sudden what you're looking at is a significant savings over 20 years. So it's not these first 10 years that are really bringing the savings home. It's the total savings over this lifespan of the system, the lifespan of the batteries. So this is an important element when you're thinking about storage and you're bringing storage to your customers. So when we're talking about, the different options, and actually, wait, I missed a poll. We have a poll question, our first poll question. I'm sorry, I haven't used this platform before, so I'm a little clunky. So, so the question is, do you install solar and storage now? Or is it something you're thinking about doing it in the future? So I see a lot of answers coming in, and it looks like a lot of people are actually already installing solar and storage. That's really great. 89%. Fabulous. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next slide. So when I was putting together this slide deck and I was doing research, and EnergySage is really an amazing resource. I assume that most of you are familiar with EnergySage. Just going to give them a plug because I've used quite a bit of their data in this slide presentation. If you haven't been to their site, you should check it out. But when I was looking at this, there was really some interesting data that came sort of to the forefront. So they asked installers how they were adapting to NEM 3. Okay, and a few answers really stood out. For one thing, this is really interesting. In the survey, 69% said that they plan to add storage. In our Q&A right here, it's 69%. So this is like spot on what the EnergySage survey actually came to. So that's fascinating. So 69% said they're going to invest more in storage. Okay. But the really interesting thing to me is that 17% of the respondees said they'd scale back or stop servicing the California market. 14% plan to scale up in California. Okay. And 23% said they were going to slow down hiring, but 3% said they plan on speeding up hiring. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, if you're in the group that plans on scaling up in California or increasing hiring, you're looking for ways to make NEM 3 work for you. And that's what we're talking about today. How do we make NEM 3 work for your company? How do we make NEM 3 work for the homeowners, for the consumers? So I want to talk a little bit about storage attachment rates, because when we're thinking about this and we're thinking about scaling up in California, okay, looking at the historical storage attachment rates is very telling. Okay, so storage is obviously a growing market. We all know that. And California already has the second highest storage attachment rate in the US. And if you look at the changes that have happened since the end of 2020 to the beginning of 2022, which is where these statistics come from, okay, we have an 80% increase. That's huge. And, why is this happening? And why is Hawaii number one? Well, one of the things, of course, that's driving this is the wildfire resilience issues. So that's a huge driver in storage attachment. Okay. Also, SCHIP, we've got incentives that has been driving this. But I think one of the key factors, and the reason that Hawaii has the highest attachment rate in the country, is because of inhospitable utilities. And that's exactly what we have right now in California. NEM 3 has been put forth, and the utilities are not favoring installers. They're not favoring the solar industry. And so that is really driving that storage attachment. Now, why do homeowners want storage? So they want it because of savings. That's what's driving consumer interest. While backup power is definitely of import, you can see, and do love these charts, because you look at in 2020 and 21, we had huge attachment because of with self-supply and backup power. And that was really driven by the pandemic. Okay. Well, since we've come out of the pandemic, you can see that it's significantly come down. So these 3 years, really all of a sudden, savings on utility rates has become more of a driving factor than it was in 2020. In 2020, backup power and self-supply was more important, whereas now savings on utility rates is the more important factor. Okay. And so home electrification drives savings. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So how do you maximize the savings your homeowners are looking for? Okay, storage is going to allow the homeowners to manage their usage, and that's through grid arbitrage. And that's what makes the financial case for NEM 3. But with load management and with home electrification, you're going to manage not just your production and your storage, but also your consumption. And so you're turning the customer's home into a simple, smart, and sustainable smart home. And that's really the goal. That's the goal of load management. So I have a second survey question that I wanted to bring up. So do you currently offer smart home management? Let's just see if we get a few answers here. Well, cool. First two answers were yes, very immediate. And to the person who said, I need more info about smart home management. So we're going to be touching on this today. This is not going to be a deep dive. We are going to be doing another webinar that will literally be a training on how to design a smart home and load management. I shouldn't say a smart home, but load management using home electrification. Okay. Oops. Okay, so maximize savings for homeowners. So what are we doing? We're managing our energy and home automation. That's the first step. Okay, so when you're setting up load management for your homeowner, your first step is, and that's your goal, is to manage that energy and home automation. Okay, the second thing is you're monitoring and you're controlling the energy consumption by device. So every single device, whether at the circuit level or the breaker level, you're going to be monitoring and controlling that. Okay, this is going to allow you to orchestrate the home energy production and consumption. And this is a key element of this. You're going to be integrating your utility power, your solar backup battery, and your EV charging. You're looking at all of it, and you're using the tariffs and the rate periods to maximize the savings for the end user. Okay. And of course, this is going to bring them peace of mind, which is really a selling point. When you're talking to a homeowner, you want to be able to tell them, look, we're going to actually be able to give you the peace of mind that you're going to know you can maximize your savings through load management. Okay. It's also going to help them gain sufficiency, maximizing solar output. You're going to decrease the energy cost. They're going to optimize your EV charging, which is a really important point, because EV charging is a huge draw on the home. Oftentimes it's one of the largest draws on a modern home. So optimizing that EV charging is really vital. And just maximizing resiliency. And then these last 2 points are really all about backup power. So if there's an outage, you can prioritize your power so you can extend that battery life. Okay. With load management, what you're doing is you're not just, you don't have to go and flip breakers. You're using intelligence to actually maximize and manage those loads. Okay. And then also you're going to use the battery to power the household appliance after the solar generation drops out. So in a power outage, of course, if you've got load management and you have batteries, then your batteries are going to last longer. So what we're talking about is load control for cost savings. And I'm going to talk about two different things. One is load control for cost savings. One is load control for backup power. Okay. And so when you're looking at load control for cost savings, what you need to do is you need to monitor and control. I've already said that once. I'm going to say it a few more times because that is what this is all about, is monitoring and control. With just storage, all you have is your storage. And whether you're using it for arbitrage, well, you need some kind of management of that. But when you can manage your loads, the batteries are going to last longer. You can really optimize your energy usage. Okay. And you can control connected appliances. And you can do this at the breaker level. Okay. So actually, large loads are controlled here, but any of your smaller devices can all be controlled at the circuit level. So using smart circuit management, whether you're using, switches, dimmers, outlets, you actually can manage your loads at that level, which makes a huge difference. And then any load control devices out there on the market, okay, whether it's, Span or Eaton or Schneider, should be using, I won't say are using, but should be using smart AI within their software platforms to really leverage the data-driven insights. And that's how they're going to manage power. So I just want to touch on setting customer expectations. And if you're going to zone out for a minute and answer emails, don't do it while I'm talking about this slide, please. Because setting customer expectations is probably one of the most important things that installers need to do, and probably one of the things that is most overlooked. Okay, energy storage and home electrification are very new to the industry for most homeowners and for many installers. Okay, customers need to know what to expect from their systems. Okay, oftentimes, and now everybody's moving to whole home backup. And one of the reasons people are doing that, one of the reasons installers are doing that, is because it's much simpler than trying to figure out which loads you're going to back up and which you aren't. With load management, that becomes a much easier process, because if you're doing a whole home backup and you have load management, you can shed loads and bring them on as needed. Okay, so load management is really going to maximize your cost savings for the end user. But what you need to do is you need to educate your customers. If your customers have the knowledge and they understand how their systems works, what the system is going to do for them, and also what limitations there might be in their system, then they're going to be a happy customer. And the end goal is always a happy customer. So I cannot stress the importance of setting customer expectations. And for you to set those customer expectations, then you have to have the knowledge of how storage works with load management to create a financial benefit for your customers. Okay. Now, load control for backup power. So, and I'm talking about two different things. There's load control for the financial benefits, but also the load control for backup power. And it is a little bit different, because if you're using your storage for backup, okay, you want to extend that battery runtime. And really, if you have load management, all of a sudden what you're doing is you're looking at how you can shed loads and add loads as needed, and realize that the way that smart system is going to work, it will learn your loads. Okay, so it will recognize an outlet, it will see it in place, and it will remember, oh, that is a lamp that's plugged in there. Okay, it will recognize when you're using your power where and how you use your power. And you can program this, and you can use the smarts of the AI to help make it all manage the system more effectively for either highest cost savings or longer runtime for your batteries. Okay. It also, load management can reduce the number of batteries you need. Okay. So it's going to lower your total investment. And then again, as I said, it's going to increase the battery runtime. It's going to enable control for EV chargers. And that's a really big one. oftentimes people are putting in EVs, and so what they're doing is they're doing service upgrades at that time because that's what's needed. But if you actually are using smart load management, you can potentially avoid that upgrade. And then, of course, having load control is going to allow you to navigate the outages, choosing what to power and what to power off. Okay. I'm going to take a moment to have the final survey question. That doesn't mean you all get to leave, though. So if I was curious how many people are actually doing service upgrades at this time. Wow, quite a few. Great. Okay. I wish I had another question to ask because I'd love to know, anyway. Love to talk to all of you after this because I'd love to talk to the installers who are doing service upgrades and those of you who aren't. So back to talking about setting customer expectations. I want to speak just for a moment to storage sizing, because this is probably the biggest fail that happens for homeowners, is when systems are not sized correctly for the needs of the homeowner, and the homeowner doesn't understand what the limitations are of that storage system. So there's a lot of very interesting data out there. I'm sure some of you have seen this, but how much storage is enough? And the average battery size nowadays, about 10 kilowatt hours. And is that enough for summer months in California? And what the research is showing is no, it's really not. In some locations it is, but certainly California, we have high consumption costs. And I was talking actually to one of the Green Tech PC managers yesterday, and he was saying that his average installer was putting up about 30 kilowatt hours of storage. So this is really important to think about. If you have load management, remember I said you're going to be able to potentially put up less storage because you're managing how the end user is using their loads. Okay. And if you look at the cost of storage, which is the highest cost of your system nowadays, if you can take them from a 30 kW system back down to 10 or 20, this is going to offer them savings, which is going to make you a more competitive installer. So 95%, 96% of critical loads served on average across the country by 30 kilowatt hours. So this is sort of the sweet spot, but the idea is if we're putting in load management and we can lower this, then again, cost savings. So part of what we're going to talk about today is Schneider Home. And one of the things that, one of the challenges that has been faced by our industry is there's a lot of different players out there. And you all know that, okay? So Schneider, who's been in the industry for a very long time, has decided to take their expertise and put it toward the future. So, one thing a lot of people don't know, and I wish I had another survey question asking how many of you knew that Schneider actually has a solar division and that we've been selling inverters for over 20 years, because I know that a lot of people don't know that. Okay, our inverters were designed as off-grid and backup power. They have literally the best surge capability in the industry, and we have a large fleet of inverters that are still in service. 17 years they've been going strong. I actually live completely off-grid. So, I come from the installer background, and I actually beta tested this particular inverter 17 years ago in 2006. And it's running a nanogrid, 4 full-time homes on my property. So incredibly robust equipment. So we've taken that expertise and we've combined it with our leadership in the residential electrical sphere. So I'm sure all of you know Square D. We have been in the industry for over 100 years. We're in 4 out of 10 US households. Did not know that when I first started at Schneider. Wasn't really surprised when I found it out, but I just never really thought about it. I know that in my past life, in installation, we'd installed a lot of Square D products, so it wasn't that surprising. And Schneider's a leader in delivering high quality, safe, and reliable products, and that goes for both Square D as well as our storage products. So, looking toward the future, what we saw was this. This is what the current systems out there in the field look like. Okay, it's needlessly cumbersome. You have an inverter, you have your batteries, you've got here's your smart load management, you've got a backup switch. So all of these things are just cumbersome, and they're all controlled by separate apps. So we all have app exhaustion because there's multiple apps that we all have to use to actually monitor our various pieces of equipment. And we looked at that and said, we can do better. So this is Schneider Home. And Schneider Home is a combination of the inverter, the battery, a smart electrical panel, an EV charger, smart switches, and then a single app. So it's truly a simple all-in-one system for home electrification. We've combined everything that all of our expertise to create something that brings all the things that you need for an efficient system for your end users into one offer. I just want to point out the Schneider Pulse Smart Electrical Panel. Some of you might be familiar with the Energy Center, which we came out with last year. The Energy Center is a double-wide, double-bay smart electrical panel, and that's basically for new homes. The Schneider Pulse is our new electrical panel that is designed for retrofits, and it's really the heart of the electrified home. Okay, so one of the things that it does, and if we go back at this to this picture, and you see all the boxes on the wall, and you go to this one, and what we've done is we've combined everything into the main electrical panel so that you're eliminating the MID switch, the critical load panel, your consumption monitoring box, your load control box, and your meter socket, because it's all in one place. Okay. It is designed to be used obviously with Schneider Home, but it also can be used with other inverter solutions. So I want to be really clear. If you're doing main panel upgrades, which quite a few of you are, thank you to those of you who answered the survey. So if you're actually doing main panel upgrades, you can use this as a main panel upgrade and use Schneider smart relays and smart breakers. And you can use this if there's an existing solar system, or if you want to use other equipment, you actually can use this main panel box. Okay. So why these devices? Well, first of all, the benefits for your homeowners. Okay. There's a single app. So you have single system for your energy management, which, as I talked about earlier, is really vital and key. It's going to, if the homeowners need to look at things, they can see it all under one app. Okay, they're going to get, and this is what I was talking about earlier with load management, they're going to get longer backup protection with less batteries. And that's because they're using load control. And I'll just go back and say, obviously, I work for Schneider. I think Schneider Home is fabulous. But what you have to realize is whether you're using this or any other product out there, load management is the key. So if you're using Span or you're using Eaton or you're using something else, as long as you're doing load management, you're going to be able to benefit from this. Okay, this is the Schneider solution. Personally, I think it's better. Schneider definitely thinks it's better. But that longer backup protection with less batteries, that is all about load control. And so you can get that from any load control device. Of course, with Schneider Home, the aesthetics are beautiful. Homeowners love that. Single warranty. And this is a real big deal because personally, I know as a former installer, having the inverter from one company, the battery from another, you know, if you've got your smart load management from another company, if there's warranty issues, if there's any kind of communication issues, it can become a real nightmare because what you're dealing with is 3 different companies. Whereas all of this is under one company, one phone call, one support line. Okay. Of course, just like with any load management system, you're going to have visibility on your appliance energy consumption. So that is huge. And the automated energy management, which any load management device you're using should have that automated energy management. And then finally, the benefits for the installers. So again, a full system from one vendor. Okay, so it's going to make things easier for you, whether it's installation, your operation, support, warranty, all of that. Okay, so the fact that your solar and storage, your smart electrical panel, and your single app for the homeowner all comes from Schneider is just going to bring simplicity to the installer. Okay, it also installs faster because there's fewer boxes on the wall. And as we all know, anything that installs faster, if it's good for the homeowner, it's going to be good for you. And of course, it has a flexible system design. So one of the things, and I'm just going to go back for a moment, and I just want to show you, if you look at this, you can install just the inverter without the Schneider Boost, which is our battery. So it can be just a standalone inverter. Okay, you can install just the pulse panel, the main panel, using, as I said earlier, a different inverter and battery. Okay, you can install them piecemeal, so it's all modular. So if a homeowner decides, well, I just want to be battery ready and I need a panel upgrade, you can do all of that. Okay, smart switches and outlets, that's something that can be put in at a later time or even before the installation happens. So that modularity is really such a strength and boon for both the homeowner and you as the installer. And then the final thing, and probably one of the most important things for every one of you, is commissioning. Commissioning is often the bane of installers. And so we really have highlighted the ease of commissioning for this particular product. So I actually have, that is the end of the slide deck. I do see that there's questions, so I just wanted to go through them real quick. Okay, Josh, please email me. In fact, I'm going to put my email here for everyone. But I have just been told by Josh and June that that the ROI is different. And here, let's go back to the ROI slide real quick so we can just look at it. There we go. Okay, so Josh is saying that the San Diego was 3.5 years and it jumped to 6.5, which is 7. So I will double check this data. Okay, but yeah, I'm having these are being questioned. So did anybody else have any questions? Well, it's a very quiet chat. What's the size of the battery? Thank you. Good question, Josh. It's a 10 kilowatt hour, and it is actually, it can be stacked one in front of the other up to 30 kilowatt hours. Oops. we go. So this is a 10 kilowatt hour battery, and then you can put a second and a third in front of it. So it doesn't go to the side, it goes right in front to limit the space it's taking up on the wall. And so as far as, upcoming trainings, let me just tell you, tell us about battery chemistry. LFP, Bailey.
Hi, Kate. Kate, that was my big question really was, when will more extensive technical docs be available for this equipment?
So technical docs will be released in the next couple weeks. Okay. We could not release them today, but they will be available to everyone within the next couple weeks. We're actually going to be announcing this. We'll have it at RE+.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll actually be taking pre-orders at RE+. Okay. We're going to start doing sales trainings right after RE+. And then we'll have installer trainings at all of the green techs. So we'll actually be doing in-person installer trainings at the various green techs throughout the state of California. I can send you, if you email me, Zach asked, how do you compare to Tesla Powerwall? So Zach, I know that one of my coworkers has been doing comparisons, and so I can certainly get you that data. How does this integrate with Schneider XW Plus Pro installations? It doesn't. So for those of you who are familiar with our XW line, the XW and Schneider Home are two completely separate items. This is actually a high voltage battery. So it's not a 48 volt battery, and the inverter is a transformerless inverter. So while it's 7.7 and it does have surge capacity to 15 kilowatts for 10 seconds, it is not, it does not have the surge capacity for the, off-grid nature. It's not designed for off-grid at all. Yes, Josh asked, is there a separate controller to use if not using with the pulse panel? And the answer, Josh, is yes, there is. We have a backup control panel, which can actually be used as either a sub panel for loads or an exclusionary panel. So if you want to back up the majority of your main panel, but you just want to exclude a couple of loads, you can actually use the backup controller as for excluding loads. I can see the curtailing water heater and HVAC during. Okay, Ross asks, I can see curtailing water heater and HVAC during hours that work with customers having regular habits, and even at night is generally not a problem. But interspersed for day charging makes sense. Why would one control anything else? Lighting control, take care of that, and one would not want to interrupt stoves or dishwasher, for example. That's a really good question, Ross, and I think the thing about load management is it really is something that is done on an individual basis. For instance, I thought that was interesting. You wouldn't want to interrupt stoves or dishwashers. Some things, you're probably going to leave them on, but I also know, like for myself, if my batteries were low, and back in the day, I used to have lead acid batteries. I of course have LFP now. But remember, I live completely off grid, so I do not have a utility pole at my house. I am my own power company, and I do have the XWs, but I have the old XW pluses. And so I have an electric oven, and if my batteries were low and it was night, I'm not going to use my electric oven. Everybody has different ways of using their power, and so I think load management is really, while it can be put to a uniform place if that's how you want to do it, in general it's sort of customizable.
Kate, and one compelling answer I heard to a similar question was that when these systems are installed and operating, you don't really know who's using them, and with transfer times coming down as much as they have, the people who are in the house and using the house might not even be aware that you're running on battery. So sure, ideally you don't want to interrupt a stove or a dishwasher. But if the people in the house don't know that you're running on battery, then you probably do want to interrupt the stove or the dishwasher if it comes to that.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Especially if you're on backup power, you absolutely, you want that load management. You want something smart that's going to say, hey, your batteries are being drained and you don't have solar, so you need to shut these devices off. Okay, a couple other questions. Josh asked, how big is the bus on that separate control panel? One of the big pluses, some new battery solutions out there is having a controller that basically acts as a Hawaiian tie-in to avoid dumping MPUs or adding a separate iTie. Okay, so I'm going to defer that answer. I believe it's 200 amps. I'm almost positive. But now that you're asking the question, I'm going to have to double check. I know on the main panel it's 200 with a 225 bus, and it can be downgraded to 100 amp. So if you've got, if your utility tie-in is only, especially if it's underground and you can only put in 100 amp, you can still use this main. As far as the sub panel, I believe it's 200 amp as well, but I will have to double check. What people need is, Ross says, what people need is an alert when there is an outage. Most systems don't offer that. Absolutely. There are alerts. And so if there's going to be an outage, you would be pinged on your app on your phone that tells you, yes, you're on battery power.
Yeah, well, that's a great question, because with a whole bunch of different apps, there's a far less likely chance that you'd have something configured to actually get a notification. So, I think having a single app just moves us, closer to that direction. And with the unified system, I mean, there's even, I don't know, I haven't seen the specs yet, but there could be finally an option to like flash the lights in the house, if you're running on battery or something like that. Who knows?
Oh, to have the lights flash to let you know that.
I'm just speculating, but
yeah, no, I love the idea. Now I'm gonna go ask product management because that's a great concept. So if you're very interested, if any of you are interested, we do have, we are doing pilot installs right now. I don't know where you're all located. I know we're looking for pilot partners, installers in the Bay Area. I'll take one. No, I need an installer. I need an installer. So if any of you are installers and you're interested in perhaps installing systems for our pilot programs, please reach out to me. And Ross agrees that, yes, lights are an annunciator if you're at home relaxing and aren't necessarily paying attention to your phone. 100%. I will definitely bring that up. So any other questions? And thank you so much for the conversation. I really appreciate the interactive questions. It's great. Okay, Zach, reach out to me. My email is in the chat. And you can also always get to me from through your Green Tech sales rep. So if the Green Tech sales rep doesn't know me, tell them to ask their manager, but they should all know me by now. Well, I really appreciate you all attending, and I hope this has been helpful. We will be doing a deep dive into into load management, and we're going to be having trainings on that. We will be doing in-person and webinar sales trainings. And there will be ongoing webinars starting toward the end of August, beginning of September, for Schneider Home in general. Also, if you're interested in Schneider Home, again, the pre-orders will be happening at RE+. We will be in Green Tech's booth at RE+, so we'll be there at the Green Tech booth, as well as, of course, Schneider will have its own booth at RE+. The other piece of information to know is that we will be launching Schneider University, and that will be launching in late September. And so all coursework and trainings will be available online as well.
All right.
And I will leave it open in case anybody else has any other questions or. Well, it doesn't look like it.
I think we're good.
I think we're good. Well, give you a few minutes back for your day, and thank you everybody for coming in. Thank you Green Tech for hosting us. Really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Kate. It's a really interesting suite of products, and it's great to see you presenting this and being part of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited to be part of it, and it is a great suite of products.
Right.
Have
Thanks,
a great
everybody.
day, everyone.